So, Narc Not Aware subscribers or people who are just tuning in for the first time, I appreciate you. I love you. I applaud you. Let's all do the work together to get to a healing. I just want to give you a little background of myself. I am older person who for my entire life I grew up with a narcissistic parent. And my entire life, I have always tried to live in reality. And whenever I would try to present reality to my parent, they would always shut me down. Now, they wouldn't shut me down verbally because I believe it was more covert narcissism that I was dealing with. So it was never going to validate what I said by saying, just be quiet, or I don't want to talk about that right now, or what are you talking about? It was never going for me, the abuse was more like silence. You could say, oh my God, the worst thing imaginable has happened to you, and it would be dead silence. There would be no validation whatsoever. There would be no, well, how are you now? Are you okay? How did you feel at that time? I'm sorry for not being there. I'm sorry for that. No, it would just be silence. And that silence, if anyone has experienced it, it's enough to literally kill you because you're looking to the human that made you and who tells the world, oh my God, I would die for my children. I love my children. I love my children. But then when I come to you and I'm saying these things happened, I would like answers for these things that happened, or I need your help and assistance in answering these crazy questions that I have, or putting the pieces to this puzzle together because the pieces are scattered. It took me, I'm telling my age, but it took me 30 years to grasp that the pieces are scattered because she scattered them. Please hear what I'm saying. If you're dating a narcissist, the pieces are scattered because they scattered them. If you have a narcissistic parent, the pieces of the puzzle that are missing, they're missing because they threw them out. Whenever you're dealing with a narcissistic person and you're trying to put the puzzle together, all the pieces are not in the box on purpose because they actually enjoy watching you run around, scramble around, trying to put the pieces together, and without your knowledge, they're just watching you. It's a game for them. It's a game that they created a long time ago, way before you could even imagine. Most narcissistic people, if not all, have encountered massive abuse as a child and massive neglect. So while they were being abused, and this might be triggering for someone and people or listeners, it's triggering for me even as I'm saying it, but I have to say it for my own healing and the healing of someone else. But while they were being abused or while they were being neglected, they have created this false world that they entered into. And in this false world, their needs were met. In this false world, they were grandiose. In this false world, there was no abuse. In this false world, everything was perfect, right? So now, when they are older, And they are able to now, quote unquote, control themselves, because as a child, everything was out of control. That's the thing. A lot of times you ask your partner, your parent, about their childhood, they're not going to tell you anything. They might tell you bits and pieces, but believe me, 90% they're not going to tell you. So even when you think you know something, you don't know anything. You would have to, first of all, be ready for the knowledge, because, I mean, this is where the empathy comes in. And this is where a lot of empaths, empathetic people, kind-hearted people get pulled in and get abused. Because, and this is why you're abused, sidebar. You're abused by the narcissist because if my parent didn't give a frick, why do you? If my whatever didn't care for me, and then here you're caring for me, it hurts worse, because my own mother didn't care. My own father didn't care. Then here you come, a complete stranger, trying to care for me and love me and heal me. It hurts worse because it's acknowledging to me how much my parent, who's supposed to love me, didn't do. So the more that you do for them, the more they hate you. And that's facts. So that's why you cannot outlove a narcissist. You cannot love them and love them and love them and think that you're going to get anywhere. In fact, it's only going to get worse, because the more that you love them and pour into them, the more that you're stabbing at that wound that's there, that they actually covered up with all this grandiosity and delusion and delusions, right? So when you come in and you're loving them, you're actually coming up underneath that scar, up underneath that hard scar that they've created, and that numbness that they've created. You're coming up underneath that, and you're healing that which is at the bottom. But anytime anything needs to be healed, it hurts. So the more that you love them, the more that you're hurting them. So this is why the more that you do for them, the more they're going to abuse you, because you are inadvertently hurting them. Okay? All right. So that went a little bit to the left, but I think it was worth it. Now, what was my original point? I was saying that, okay, so I was saying that this is the empathy that people, you end up becoming a victim of the narcissist, because the reason that the narcissist has created this false delusion and this false world and this false is because that's the degree. Listen to me when I tell you, that's the degree of neglect that they have encountered. That's the degree of abuse that they have encountered, that they live, breathe, and exist right now today in a delusional, denial, fake, false world. A lot of people will even say, the narcissist probably doesn't even know who they are. So you damn sure ain't never going to figure out who they are, because they don't even know who they are. They don't even know who they are supposed to be, because they've been creating this false whatever image from a baby, from childhood, from wherever that abuse started, wherever that neglect started, this false sense was started. So if it was 9 years old, if it was 6 years old, if it was 5 years old, 12 years, wherever it's in teenage, wherever it started, whoever that person was supposed to be from that point on, without the abuse, we'll never know. And that's enough to make you really want to, my God. And that's why people that have empathy hang in there for so long. These people who have empathy are abused for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40. because that narcissist pulls you in with that story. You know, a lot of times you'll have families with a narcissistic parent, and maybe there's 4 siblings. That one sibling that won't give up on that parent has empathy towards them, and that parent is going to literally rob that child, who then will become an adult, of their life, because the narcissist will rob you of your life, because their life was taken long, long, long time ago. And that's so sad. Their life was taken in infancy, in toddler, in elementary, in teenage. They didn't have maybe a childhood. They didn't have teenage years. They didn't have the prom and wherever their thing stopped is where they feel entitled to rob you. You hear me? So when the narcissist, a lot of times a narcissist, male or female, will date someone way above their pay grade, some people will say. They're going to date someone, the most intelligent, the most beautiful, the most popular, the most this, the most that. Or some of you that might say, well, I wasn't the most beautiful, I wasn't the most popular. You had something that they don't have and that they will never have. Maybe your kindness, maybe your charisma, maybe your money, maybe your family, maybe your morals, your integrity, your career, your money, your house, your innocence. You have something, believe me, that they will never have. You might have everything that they will never have. And so, sadly, they don't see you as a human. They see what you have, and they are envious of it. They are entitled to it. Whew. And that's another sadness, because they feel like they are entitled to it. This was robbed of me when I was a child, and it was. And they're going to make everybody pay for it. You can kind of understand their stance. You can kind of understand their point of view, because they feel like, how dare you be running around with innocence and charisma and money and friends and wisdom and great memories and great parents. Why the heck do you get to have all these things and I will never have it? I will never be able to go back and regain my innocence, regain whatever it is, or gain whatever it is. So they rob it of you. And you might say, well, I gave it to them freely. I gave them my house. I gave them my car. I gave them love. I gave them this. I gave them that. And they still abused me, and they still hated me. Why? Because in their minds, I'm giving away a lot of free tea. In their minds, it was mine anyway. It was mine anyway. How are you giving it to me? You know, I want to thank God. He wanted me to make this video to help so many people. Now, this is from years and 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 years of me suffering as a child of a narcissistic parent and never understanding anything and begging. You guys will never grasp at her knees for answers that she'll never give. And seeing siblings just drop off. Like, they're like, I don't have that kind of time. I'm not going to give to this thing. Like, I'm not going to let her rob me. And I was robbed of a lot of time. A lot of time. And money. And effort. And everything. Because she felt entitled to take everything from me. Because she didn't have anything growing up. And the empathy that I felt towards her, I gave it freely. But the point is that there's no limit. There is no limit. You could give them your last breath, and they'll step right over you and head to the next person who has breath, and head to the next person who has money, and head to the next person who has influence, and step right over your dead body. Like, it's your fault that you died. It's your fault that you stopped the supply. It's your fault that they don't have and let me not say this because, please go watch Dr. Ramani, Ramini. I'm not saying that all this information came from her, but she's a wonderful, magnificent, she's doing God's work, and she's an expert on narcissism and as a million other things as well. But like I said, I've done a lot of research for myself. I didn't know that I would be starting a channel and helping others. I did this to help myself because I didn't understand. That's what I was saying. Go research your parents. Go talk to aunts, uncles, neighbors, church people, co-workers, old friends. Especially if you really are struggling and need a healing. And find out what happened in their childhood. Or go sit with a parent. A lot of times things are about trust. Sit with them. Spend time with them. Develop a trust there. And they will give you nuggets here and there. They're never going to give you the full puzzle in one whop. If you get that, that's a miracle. But they will give you pieces and pieces. And I believe that even when they're giving you those little pieces and those little nuggets and that little bit, it hurts them. That's what I used to think. It hurts them because they've hidden that side of themselves for a very, very, very long time. So when they're giving you this little nugget or this little bit of information, cherish that and just try to put the pieces together. If this is your journey, if this is what you're trying to figure out, like why. Now if this is a husband or a wife and you're trying to do all this research, good luck. I don't know how you're gonna round up all them people, but I guess it can be done. But for others, I hope you do that while you're packing your bags. I hope you're doing that while you have your plane ticket, your train ticket, and you're getting out of Dodge and going no contact, because these people are and can be dangerous, especially when they start figuring out that you are figuring it out and realizing, oh my God, I'm dealing with a narcissist. I mean, I wouldn't announce that to them or probably anybody else. I would be, to the degree that you're being abused and all of these things and you're getting information and education, I will be throwing my things in a bag and going no contact. And for those who are in present abuse with a narcissist, my God, please look up certain terms like gray rock, how to survive being in a narcissist presence. You got to gray rock them, honey. You got to just shut it down and ignore them and have the least amount of contact. Or it's such a sad, dangerous disease to be around these people. Oh my God, especially full time. I pray for you as I pray for myself that God will bring healing from this trauma, because my God, it's a disease that if you didn't experience it, if you weren't around it, if you're not educating yourself, if you're not aware, you won't know what the hell is going on. Excuse my French. You will never know what is going on. And the reason is because you are pulled into a delusional world that does not exist. So how are you going to explain a delusional world to someone else? You don't even understand it because you're part of someone else's delusional world. Oh, shit. Think about that. That's a third party situation. This person is in delusion. They've pulled you into their delusion, and then you're trying to go get help for a delusional situation that's real. Wow. Say that 3 times. When I tell you, this is 30 years in the making of research that I didn't even know I was researching, because I was living, and by God's grace, I'm getting the revelation and the information and putting the pieces together and figuring this thing out. By God's grace, I'm telling you, and I pray that I can help anybody and validate as many people as I can. You're not crazy. It was a very loop-de-loo situation, or it might still be. It is a very dangerous situation, and it might still be. Please go get help. Please run. Please pack your bags. Please leave and figure it out once you get to a safe place. And it may take you years and years and years and years and years to figure it all out. And I pray that you'll be able to figure it out in a safe place. You not being able to put the pieces together, as I mentioned earlier, it's not it was intentional. My ex, I've said in other videos, that's one of the first things he said to me when we met. You will never figure me out. I thought that was the stupidest thing for somebody to say to somebody. He said, you will never figure me out. And he was so proud of that. But these people were so abused to such a degree that it's purposeful that you will never figure them out, because it's so painful. It's so embarrassing. It's so shameful for them that they've covered that thing so much that you will never figure them out. They may not even figure themselves out. But that's not our problem. Your problem, if you're listening to this video, is to get out safely,